Kalista. And NIP's on the blue side, so you got to think that they won that coin toss. But I'm glad you point out the formalities of draft at this point. We got to get rid of a Kalista. We got to get rid of a red side Skarner, Rumble taken away, and that Jace, even nerfed on the tank-ish build, still a high priority ban.
Yeah, and then, you know, what is this final ban going to be? There's an element of red side jail that you have with Skarner, and yeah, Ambessa's still open. Okay, so immediately, NIP, Shanji, congratulations, buddy. You get a bruiser, you get somebody that can go diving. Already starts off this dive style composition for NIP.
Yep.
Ambessa does really well if there's a friend. NIP have locked in Ambessa already. Vi priority goes quite high as well when you've got somebody to dive with, so maybe we just get to see a super early lock-in. And these guys, have they drafted off screen? What is happening?
Yeah,
we're flying through.
Oh, man, we're going to go into B-Rise game 1. This guy's not
one.
messing around. He's picking it first phase. On the other side, though, we do see a pretty classic LPL comp, even with that Renekton coming together here. Anyone's Legend leaning into that sort of like poke distance style comp with the Nidalee and the Corki, which could go mid or bot, but still going to solidify that composition around the crop.
Yeah, and Flandre as well on the Renekton will be a focal point for the early game. So all of a sudden, yeah, I mean, you say that, Slayer, you say that. However, what we're going to do is lane swap. So let's remember where we are, first of all. Who comes out on top of this lane swap could be really important, or will be really important, obviously. But when you've got two bruisers as well, the offset for what happens in the late game is a lot greater, right? If you lock in On and he goes behind in a lane swap, you're still getting On in a team fight. You lock in Renekton, you lock in Ambessa, and they go behind in a lane swap, all of a sudden their lane when they return to standard is really difficult and they can get ran over. Important to note that I do find this top matchup for AL very favorable. You also have to pair that with the fact that you have a Nidalee who is very likely going to sit in that top lane or sit by the Renekton to make those stuns happen.
We are banning out a lot of the bot side champions now, though. Interesting to see that AL learned from the success of JDG, knowing that Senna worked really well with the Rise Viego comp, so I'm glad we're paying attention to the series before. But the bottom lane, it's really going to be a question here, Roodood. I'm curious where you think both these comps are going to go. AL, though, they see that Varus you were talking about wide open. They're going to lock that one in, likely just to create even more range here for anyone's Legend.
Yeah, and the beauty of going for a DPS mid laner and taking Varus is that you can go for poke Varus. So this gives Hope a little bit of time now to also join that poke. Corki, regardless of how he builds out poke anyway, just by nature of his rockets. So that is going to be something that AL now can use. They can play at that range. NIP deciding to double down on the fact that they've already got dive and they got to go in with it. The Braum priority is going crazy right now for anyone's Legend. If they want that, just a little bit of disengage, something to stand in front of them. But instead, Kael, a little bit more on brand. Straight in on the rel, game number 1, and this suggests again that you've got some 2v2 capabilities. I would love to see these format in standard lanes.
Yes, please.
It probably won't happen just because you want to deny as much of that Renekton Nidalee as possible.
Yeah. But now we can set the stage here for, you know, win expectations of both these squads. On the NIP side, right, I only have to direct you, Roodood, to one champion, because whenever you lock this champion in, your entire comp plays around them. Aki resets. That's all.
Yeah. As soon as we get some form of Viego going on, we're looking good, right? That's the goal, at least, for NIP, is to make sure that they've got Aki some form of kill in a team fight. And looking at the damage that they've built up, or the CC that they've got as well, Nautilus Hook into front-loaded MF Burst into Rise Route, they have got the tools to actually take one target down at the start of the fight. And looking at the composition that anyone's Legend have drafted, they're going to have to be very cognizant of how far back they play, because if one of them gets hooked, they are all going to get torn asunder. They do not have a real front line. Renekton is going to be their best bet, and for that reason, I wouldn't be surprised to see Flandre opt into a relatively tanky build. And, you know, I say that as far as Renekton goes, that means you go for things like Sterax and Death's Dance, not, you know, Randuin's Omen. But you can very well expect to see a pick for NIP means that they're going to come out on top. If anyone's Legend can either play back and be calm about how they take these teamfight approaches, or if they begin to snowball, because they've got Renekton, Nidalee, Rel, they have got tools in the early game to make things happen.
They do indeed, but let's soak in the LPL Gyos. There are a few things, folks, that will shut up casters that like to talk for a living. That is one of them. You could tell the fans at the home arena at WE, arena that a couple of these players we highlighted have called their home in the past, are ready for what we're previewing as a potential grand finals first bout. And we're already getting aggressive here in this early game, which does bring a sad face to myself and Roodood, because it does mean we're likely not going to get this Shanji and Bessa into the Flandre Renekton in that powerful bottom lane so far. But hey, maybe NIP will match this swap and we'll just get it in the Australian way, swap the 2 lanes.
Yeah, and then, we'll see if there's a potential gank opportunity down on the bot side when you've got the Renekton down in bot lane instead. And it looks like, in fairness, that's not going to happen. Looking quickly at Keystones and Runes as well, we have got Scorch and Comet for Hope. So it's definitely going to be Poke Varus, and as soon as those lanes start to standardize once again, expect that the Varus is going to look quite aggressively with a few trades with the Hail of Arrows. But it is just going to be the map splitting up for the time being, so you'll see Anyone's Legend take complete control over the bot side. Shanji looking to find his way in for some sort of XP. Was successful, so you can see just a little purple bar below the character portrait. Managed to find a little bit of experience there in the solo lane, which is quite good for him. Goal typically for Anyone's Legend in this situation is to deny not just gold, but XP from the Ambassador as well.
It's an interesting strategy from both squads. We do see that AL commit to a style I've seen from BLG, where they let the mid lane, top player come mid to protect and allow that push to come through. Shanji is really just getting as aggressive as he can. Buddy, this is not your side of the map, all right? You gotta measure your expectations, because he might just find himself getting dove here. Level 2 ticked over for Flandre, Tarzan, and the bottom lane.
PP
and
got on his way.
Only a matter of time. Good call out though, Roodood. Nautilus is here to try and protect, but he can't get to Shanji. He tries to desperately flash back towards his support. The Ignite ticks over. Kael juggles the aggro perfectly. And AL strike first for first blood, and they might go in for seconds here.
5 seconds, go again.
ppgod is all alone. Shanji does have teleport. He's going to channel him to get back up, and that should assuage the dive. But AL, man, they look as aggressive as ever. Potentially posturing. They're going for Shanji again. Get the crash down through the aggro, though. Not juggle as well. Flandre's going to go down first. Flashes galore out. It's a disaster as AL going for seconds, and they bit off way more than they could chew.
A 2-for-0 down on the bot side. Shanji spear nearly getting taken down there. Piercing arrow. Shield keeps him alive. And NIP execute very well in the 2 versus 4 underneath their turret. ppgod just walking around, CCing as many people as possible. Shanji, the difference between level 1 and level 2 clearly proving to be enough as well in the back half, as they find not just experience from the kills, but gold from them as well. And all this time that Tarzan has spent down on the bot side trying to clear away Flandre. See that Aki has found some good experience as well, so full clear the top side, able to come down now and secure a couple of his second respawn on camps as well. Advantage in the jungle as well for NIP. And let's take another look at how the second iteration of the dive comes down. ppgod wailing on Flandre to begin with, and just unfortunately not enough HP. Early Ignite goes down for ppgod. Shanji ticks level 2 from minions dying around him, and it just means that there's not enough damage, not enough ability really for this early game AL roster to try and thrive. And they come out worse for wear. Worth noticing though that the gold disparity from off the back of this is in ppgod's pocket. So that 200 gold lead that you see is in the supports.
However, this really just wrecks a lot of this lane swap going forward here between Shanji and Flandre. The effects of that dive are really going to rear their ugly head as the series goes on. Flandre, right on record there, tries to desperately set up to get this XP, but Shanji's just going to be in such a more comfortable spot. You can see he's already been able to pick up a couple of CS as a wave crashing into him, and he's got more items on him after a reset. Flandre now taking his without teleport.
Yeah, and that's going to make, again, this top matchup just that much more difficult when we start to see those lanes begin to stabilize out, when they start to return to what we expect and what we anticipate. And already, I mean, this is just the bully Shanji show.
Oh my God.
He's not unfamiliar with this.
What
I mean, Aki's level 5. That is not an easy dive either, so this guy's just able to walk it out. Lovely stuff.
That picks up that entire wave. Exactly what we talked about. Shanji's going to be put in a much more premier position. And we don't have any take v take matchups, so it's even more imperative top laners can get further ahead in this one. As we see AL try and shift towards the mid lane to threaten Doinby. Can't touch this guy on his rise, but they will continue pushing up, likely to play for those first 3 sets of grubs, where they do hold a man advantage for now, but we're looking at a 4v4 with no top lane TPs.
Oh, and I mean, looking at the gold already so far and what's been spent, we have, you know, basically just starter items. We've got a load of tiers as well. There's a Cull, there's a Dark Seal, Ruby Crystal. Nobody's particularly strong, and it looks like it's just the early game power of a Misfortune and the push that they were able to acquire up on that top side. The hook lands.
Line down for ppgod. Just doing a bit of zoning here, buying time for Aki, who's just going to take down that grub. Final one. First 3 grubs for NIP. First step towards those feats of monster slaying. And is there only one more away here from feats of warfare as well, Roodood, so in prime position for a boot upgrade.
Yeah, they're looking good, to be honest, for this early game. Looking at how the compositions pan out later on, again, if NIP can find the pick, their composition is going to excel. They have a really solid reset composition with this Viego, and they've got really good pick as well, I think, with the MF, with the Rise, the Nautilus as well. Isolating one target shouldn't be difficult, but AL, I think if they can get to a point in the late game where they are at least neutral, or they can look to be set up on objectives, they're going to have insane poke. And looking at, again, the front line for NIP, they don't have a whole lot of that. They've got a lot of damage and a lot of ability to take one target down, but ability to stand and deliver damage, not so much.
Oh, all right, that's bullet time already out from Leave. They got a Realm Warp behind for Doinby, but doesn't cut off Tarzan. They're instead going to turn, as you always see, towards the support. Heartbreaker down for Aki. He tries to chase down Kael, who is running the wrong way towards Sunday here. That is not his own turret. It's going to get Aki even more accelerated, just what the doctor ordered for that NFP comp, like you were talking about, Roodood. Feats of warfare secured.
And they're going to be more than happy with that one. Getting a kill onto Doinby, who'd been, for the most part, just quite happy, sitting, farming, chilling in the mid lane, but now getting a little bit of extra injection into this Rise, a champion that we know is going to be a threat in the late game. Doinby on his, return, and the big series for NIP was against this IG side that, up against Rookie, again, a stable matchup of the LPL, a storied one at that. The player that took him out of the LNG playoff run, when he played against Rookie again, played his Rise and just bullied out Rookie. Bullied that matchup completely, and Doinby Rise was synonymous as far as champion and player combos go. There's a reason for it. Giving him gold on this pick is a bad idea.
Terrible idea indeed. Starting to look forward though. Here are some of those big items coming across. BF sword done for Leave, but it's important to remember on the AL side with this poke Varus, they are going to spike a little bit quicker compared towards that NF and MF and right on cue. A classic Chains of Corruption cleanse check, so that's going to be a key summoner off Leave, with everybody's eyes starting to shift towards that dragon.
Yeah, we've got about 90 seconds before second set of grubs respawn, so this is now your window to look to play for that mountain dragon. The thing is, for AL, yes, they take down the cleanse, but they also now don't really have that great an engage. Kael is still level 5. You don't have Chain of Corruption either, so actually starting a fight as anyone's legend becomes pretty difficult. And NIP, they've recognized this. They've said, actually, we've got this early game lead, and as small as it may be, we feel it's enough to leverage a dragon. Aki moves on in, finds himself that quick kill, and again, this is Aki who's going to be ahead of the curve, because Tarzan spent so long down in that bot side trying to dive, failing the second time, and allowing Aki just a lot of time to constantly farm up. Full clearing after full clear. He's now 4 camps to the good over Tarzan, and with that extra assist as well, we're very happy with where the Viego's position is in this game.
Roodood, that description you just laid down, I would have expected you to be talking about Tarzan and Aki swapped, right? I thought you'd be telling me Tarzan's been power farming to get a big lead here. Aki was trying to get some plays going early, but really stark difference to how we hyped up these junglers, but it's so imperative to remember the Nidalee is the one falling behind. That is a real problem spot for anyone's legend as this game goes on.
Yeah, and I think that it's such a skill check champion anyway that you have to land your spears to be useful for the most part, and at a certain stage you're going to just anticipate Tarzan will be able to do that if you get that poke set up properly. It will not become as big an issue. It becomes a problem when you go into Cougar form and start trying to hop around in the mixer, really, of NIP. And as well, for these two mid laners who we sort of addressed as being very much in your face, down and dirty, scrappy kind of players, Shanks has got Corki, Doinby's got Rise, and for game number one, it's almost against what we'd anticipated.
Yep. Rub's going to be jumped on here by Tarzan. Did have some pretty good mid-prio. They are leaving Doinby to do exactly what you point out, Roodood. Continue to push his farm lead here. Stack up towards Aroa. Will grab Monster Slaying spot number 1 here for anyone's legend, so they do stall out that at the very least. But still really not enough to sort of make up this early game deficit. AL, they have to continue to be proactive in this phase, especially with those two you're seeing on your screen now, Tarzan and Hope on that Varus in Italy.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen the Nidalee plus hard CC combo fully executed just yet. We seem to finally have been returned to some sort of normality in our lanes, as Shanji finding a good trade versus Flandre.
He's a full level up here. He's really holding on to the public execution, maybe waiting for Dominus to be thrown out by Flandre, but I know everyone fears the Croc when he has Dominus. I didn't think of a health lead. I thought Shanji might go for the killer blow, but wants to still play reserved.
Favorite game of top lane is ulti chicken. Who's going to burn first, right? And just decide. Actually, we're all inning now, because until then, it's just very non-committal trades. And then the second you press R, it's like, oh, I'll press R as well. Okay, we're going all in now. And you can see the wave is really good for Shanji as well. That wave is slowly crashing into his turret. Means that NIP have got an opportunity to either gank the Renekton or, you know, really make Flandre feel uncomfortable, even more so than he already is from those trades.
Come on, guys. We gotta do more. We gotta do more Ultimate Chicken. You're not playing Ornn versus K'Sante. This is Renekton and Bessa. We gotta start having a bit more fun, but I guess
especially when there's no objectives, right? Like Drake wasn't up for 2.5 minutes. We've just taken grubs. What is there on the map to fight for?
Yeah, your TPs will be up in time to play for those objectives. Let's start seeing some
just
brawl.
Flip it.
No, they're not gonna flip it here. It doesn't even seem like either. We see that NIP kind of backed off the top side seeing the reset, but Shanji does get a win here, crashing in that wave. He'll get a cleaner reset. Maybe be able to grab up that first item as well. Yeah, grabs the Eclipse. So that's a pretty big power point, along with the Sundered Sky and the Roa. NIP, they aren't super powerful yet with how much scaling they're leaning into, but the fact that they're matching legendary item for legendary item into the AL comp continues to show promise in this game.
Yeah, and Leave just finished Cull also, so going back to base, we'll be able to finish off that Bloodthirster and probably get a little bit more as well. Bloodthirster as well versus a poke composition just works so nicely. You absorb the poke, you find a minion wave, and then the poke is gone. It is just a really nice synergy for Misfortune. So Leave, you know, a little bit of an advantage in that AD carry matchup as well. Worth mentioning, you know, we're at that point now.
On the gold right now.
Cleanse is back up. Yeah, it is.
Cleanse back up. That's a good call. Is start to see some preliminary warding going down for both sides. Looking to play for the second dragon. Still waiting for that Kael big-time rel engage we saw in some of the clips we highlighted earlier. And he has to be really the main engage point. I know you pointed out the Braum could have been a good pick here, but he has to be the one to set up for these Tarzan spears, and we're still just waiting for it to happen. The time is ticking minute by minute.
Drake spawned 10 seconds time. Looks like for the most part AL using those opportunities that they found from mid lane, the Varus giving you such decent wave clear and typically going to get prio. It's actually AL with the majority of control down the spot side as ppgod missed by the chain of corruption.
Yeah, that's a big CC point. It's already off the board again. Dredgeline not going to land for ppgod. Shanks going to use the Valkyrie to get a bit more space. Drake going to reset here.
Reminder that this is how AL want to play their composition. They have poke, they have range. They want to be chipping away at these objectives prior to the fight happening. NIP, they want to fight.
They want all in, and they're looking for it. Both teleports coming through. Kael going to go in with a two-man on top of Aki and Doinby. The bullet time going to shred their backline, though. Leave gets a complete value out of the Misfortune ultimate, and it's going to wreck the fight. They lose Aki, doesn't get the reset, and Flandre with his Dominus pop is running for the backline, but he has to be the hope here for AL with his AD carry off to the side. Loses the Dominus, and now the chase down comes across. Shanji sees a target, but it's Doinby to flash forward, find the Rune Prism to lock him through, and find the 4th kill of the fight as NIP get the first big win of this series.
They get themselves 4 kills in favor of 2. Shanji also moves into this bot turret. The 3 grub's going to help him try to take this down. And NIP continue their early game dominance over this match. AL, they flubbed a dive at level 2, and they haven't looked the same since. NIP, with their slow, methodical approach to getting into this fight, find themselves with the advantage and leave. Positions in a way, so he's away from Kael. Opens up on the bullet time, so there's nobody there to interrupt him. Yeah, he'll take a couple of auto attacks from a Poke Varus, but who cares? This is Poke Varus, and he's able to force double flashes as well onto him to take him out. Flandre gets chased out in the back of this, and it's so rare that in a full-on 5v5, or even in like a shorter skirmish of 4v5, that you get full value from Misfortune ulti, but Leave was able to make it work.
It's a great point to make there, Roodood. It's something we're going to have to watch as this goes on, because one of the reasons why we might have seen that before Misfortune is if it's not Kael, you're relying on what? A Chains of Corruption hitting or a Renekton stun to interrupt these bullet times as Hope going to hit the Chains of Corruption onto Shanji, actually, to make sure Public Execution doesn't find him, but it's ppgod who's hunting him down. Flashes for the root. Is there enough damage? Surely with the Dredge line, they'll find it. Doinby gets the kill. Depth charge to find a second on a Kael. NIP are running this game one. No fear in their hearts, and they find another pair of kills for another big win.
NIP wanted to scrap, and scrap they will. They find another 3 in the mid lane. Tier 1 turret now at their beckoning as they take down the Rift Herald just prior to this. Summon it up to secure this as a formality. And NIP are running away with this mid game.
They didn't even use bullet time. Leave had that in the bag this entire time. If you have a Misfortune comp that's winning without that ultimate, you are in a bad spot, no matter who's playing on the other side.
It's looking really good right now for this NIP roster, and that 5v5, the skirmish nature of this composition is coming in fully fledged. And all credit to Hope, because he sidesteps, flashes, does everything that he can, but at the end of the day, he's just a Varus, and we're looking at the rest of the composition. They don't have enough to keep him safe. Kael's engage or attempt to disengage is just a little bit slow as Hope. Like, really good sidestep and dodging out. You can't dodge Flash Nautilus auto attack, unfortunately. Kael gets rooted by Doinby, so he can't do the damage and can't provide the CC that could have kept his AD carry alive. And at that point, it's already too late. We talked about the resets coming through for Aki. Well, in that fight, it didn't even matter. Yes, they found the first kill, but it was already over. The NIP squad are now looking to run through this top side. They've got 1 turret remaining on the outer sweep, so all attention has been turned up toward this top lane. They've got 90 seconds before Dragon spawns. That gives you a bit of a timer for how long you'd expect them to spend on this top side. And when you're so far ahead, you don't want to be giving anything to the enemy team. So Drake, this tier 1 turret, they should be looking for both.
Should be looking for both. They might look for the knockout blow here, as this game already feels NIP win 5s. I mean, they're up a ton of gold, and the poke setup composition AL want to play for, it's just so hard to execute now, especially when you see some of these items coming through to buy more time, right? You got a tankier Viego, you're getting tankier on Shanji, and Doinby already has that Seraph's already completed for that big shield. You're just not going to have enough damage right now if you're AL to burn through and get enough HP off of NIP before they're in your face.
Yeah, and especially as well, you know, small thing typically, but Locket being finished for your support, it's going to be really valuable for ppgod this game. It's so easy to determine when that big ticket damage is going to come through. I see Varus charging Q on a triple blight stacked marksman. I'm probably going to channel Locket at that point, right? Oh, a big spear is going to come through. Let me lock it. It's so easy to find value with this item already finished for ppgod. And we're looking at this Drake, the Atacon spawning pretty much in tandem with it as well, both down on this bot side. Don't expect the Atacon to be as immediately off-rip as maybe the Drake will be, but NIP will find complete control over this bot side jungle. They gave the tier 1 top, or rather didn't find the tier 1 top, so happy to make a little bit of a sacrifice there, but the good thing is once this Drake's gone down, they can probably just return their attention to it and take it out as well.
They can take everything. They can take everything on this map, and AL, they just don't have item breakpoints right now to answer except for Hope, but those are those cheap lethality items, and I'm live, you guys. He doesn't even have the more Amana done, so there's not even that big power spike But Roodood, how about the fact, obviously a matchup with AL versus NIP. We're hyping up Tarzan, we're hyping up Doinby, but on the NIP side especially, it's been those sum of everybody's parts that's been showing out so much. We'll have to hold that conversation. Those Shanks, you didn't tell off the turret, he finally gets it down. He will teleport back out to at least get something for AL, and we can focus back talking about how it's everybody but Doinby that's really doing all the heavy work for NIP right now.
I mean, we say that. Doinby is 8 out of 10 kill participation, second most on his team. He's where he needs to be, and as well, he's very, very fed in this game. So, whilst he hasn't proven to be, or hasn't stood out so far this game,
he hasn't had to have that moment yet, right?
Yeah, he hasn't, but he is doing a lot of work. I think that's just the nature of the composition that NIP have drafted, is, you know, they're playing 5v5s, and in a 5v5, what I want from Rise, Hope.
Oh, all right, Hope. Yeah, just pack it up, head back to base. That's 75%
This guy
of your
doesn't
HP.
have a Bloodthirster, so that's the problem. He has to
Var's
recall.
Bloodthirster. Var's Bloodthirster coming to a solo queue game. Can't blame me.
I've been known to take that item. I've been known. Either way, though, we're talking about Doinby not having the impact in these fights, maybe, but he's just taken 2 turrets in the side lane, uncontested, whilst NIP are still also starting up the Atacon. And you're quite right, now Doinby TPing down into this Atacon pit is the sum of the parts for NIP, and as much as this game started off with one wrong dive, it very quickly turned into a very good dive that NIP were able to capitalize on. Now with the Atacon going down, AL feel obliged to try and stop it.
And look how dark it is. They just now get vision on Atacon before it's going down, but a huge depth charge comes through for ppgod, and Shanji's just putting all of them in the meat grinder. Immediately eviscerates run. Doinby's gonna pick off Kael on the backside as well. NIP are doing no wrong right now to kick off this best of 5.
And they may lose their mid-tier 1, but they're going to find such a big fight around that Atacon. They now have that faux death ready. They're looking to storm down the bot side. Aki's chasing Hope.
Oh, flashes to make sure the stun goes through. Aki has a killer instinct. Great flashback from Hope, though. He dodges the main Heartbreaker damage, but he's just not enough to deal with Aki right now. Maybe I spoke too soon. 1 auto, the differential between Hope going down and an Otacon reset. We don't even get the shutdown. Glory Rooted.
So double summoners burnt by the Varus, though. It gives him 200 gold, which, you know, you can argue the value of, but what NIP can look to do with the remainder of this Atacon buff might be a little bit too scary, to be completely honest with you. They've got now, you know, a couple of minutes where they can step forward quite aggressively without too much fear for going down. And like you say, Hope, you know, gets hit by the majority of things. The important thing is that he flashes out of Heartbreaker, and he's able to buy enough time with that flash to turn the damage back around. Really good play on the Varus as well. He's resetting his blight stacks and making sure that he's constantly getting rotations of his Q and his E. Kael looking for ppgod.
Oh, ppgod interrupts the crash down from Kael, sets up the bullet time so well. We hyped up both of these supports. Kael's been impressive, but in game 1, it's all ppgod, and NIP is they're just picking them up like shooting fish in a barrel. Hope's HP bar eviscerated without those 2 summoners.
He has no flash, has no barrier, and he just gets minced by the Ambassador, and Shanji not finished
Shanji, he's going out for Tarzan. This guy knows that this team is too far ahead. There's nothing AL can do, not only because they're down so much gold, Roodood, but their comp just isn't designed to deal with the amount of haymakers that NIP are throwing their way. Shanji still has the Otacon revive. He wants to use it to the fullest extent, with it topping off in about 10 seconds. But it's Ninjas in Pyjamas breaking the base open before we even crest 25 minutes.
Wow, 2 turrets falling inside the AL base before Baron has even gone down. And, you know, the saving grace is that Flandre is able to take a tier 1 turret in the bot lane. Like, if that's the cope that we have for AL right now, this game is really in a, yeah, it's really not in a good spot at all. You know, Corky's hit 2 items, great. Varus has hit 2 items, you know, that sounds good on paper, but I'm stacking that up against the 3 items that we're seeing for Doinby. A fully stacked Dark Seal, a trio of incredibly defensive items for a Rise that also just so happen to boost his DPS as
Level
well.
16 as well already for Doinby. You got the 3 damage items through for Leave. this game is done. We're waiting for one big team fight from NIP. The poke just doesn't matter anymore for AL. They've got nothing to do but wait for NIP to come and claim what is theirs. ppgod flashing to find the first big root, but it's the root prism into the bullet time. doyb sets up his AD carry well, and it's just all bets are off. What a start to our series. NIP come out and punch AL straight in the mouth to take a 1-0 lead.
And ppgod, see hero, kill hero. He spots NIP, an opportunity to take a fight, and he takes it.
Nexus turrets going down. Just a formality. What a start to our series. The quickest game of our day belongs to Ninjas in Pyjamas as they go 1-up.
And the snowball was so impressive this game, and it came from a missed dive from AL. As soon as they lost out on that dive, they lose 2 members. Everywhere on NIP is just slightly accelerated, and they were able to leverage that so well. And the second that ppgod was out on the map, this guy was everywhere, was just hooking left, right, and center, constantly finding exactly what he needed to. And that's the beauty of Nautilus, right? Is that when you're ahead, you can kind of hook anybody and you get away with it typically. The good thing for ppgod this game is we talked about it in draft. Who's standing up and tanking that hook from anyone's legend?
Nobody.
It needed to be a 3-item Renekton, and we never got to 2-item Renekton, let alone 3.
Yeah, we didn't have a true tank either. I mean, you could claim Rel, but support income Roodood, you know better than anybody. You're not going to be tanky enough in time, especially the way you fall behind. We talked about it, though, right? We both believe this could be a grand finals preview. It's so poetic that one mistake was enough for NIP to blow this whole game open.
And what's even worse as well for AL is that mistake happened sort of 3 minutes in, and you're just kind of like, okay. There were probably more things that we could have done this game, but even so, you know, you look at how that game ended up playing out. NIP were ruthless with their approach, right? They were just meticulous with the way that they sort of dismantled the Anyone's Legend draft as well. And, you know, they took one good fight around a dragon after that, and they were able to once again push that snowball a little further down the hill. And before AL knew it, the game was really just over. It's so infrequent that you'll see games end without a Baron going down, but NIP, they had that snowball, they had that power, and they found it really well.
Really well indeed. I need to make sure everybody at home understands the gravity of what we just saw here. Do you know how big of a lead you have to get to overshadow a doyb Rise performance? Like, I know he played like perfect, but I'm still going to reiterate the fact that like this was the most snooze fest Rise game of his career, maybe, with how the rest of the team was playing.
Yeah. Again, like, no disrespect to doyb because he did everything he was supposed to, but the pieces around him, the sum of those parts, were just on another level, and they were absolutely where they needed to be. They found enough sort of movements around the map as well to facilitate doyb. You know, taking 2 turrets on your own top side without really anything happening, it is truly impressive again, and it sort of speaks to what the team can buy for you by way of space. And for, again, playoffs, this is our first opportunity to see cross groups and see that sort of group to group strength that we may or may not have anticipated existed. And honestly, personally, I was expecting the NIP group to have maybe been a bit of a weaker one, the way that I've seen IG perform. I